Alright guys, today we're going to be working on the 2017 Prius Prime. This is the first time I've worked on this. Got 140,000 miles and it's been running a little bit rough. Gas mileage has gone down, so I'm pretty sure we need to do the spark plugs. I've done plenty of spark plugs in my life, plenty of different type of cars. Never done a hybrid, but we're going to try to tackle it and see if we can get it done. Pretty easy. First of all, we need to take off this cowl, be able to move it a little bit so we can get to the spark plugs. It doesn't look too difficult. So I took off these two clips on the side, just small little clips like this. You just pull this top piece off and then pull the whole thing out. Fairly simple. Pull those out. Unplug these coil packs. Just push in the little tab and push them to the back. Slide out pretty simple. Then we will need a 10 millimeter, which I have right here. So loosen up these coils, just a 10 millimeter bolt on each one of them. Let's take those out. I'm going to try to do it without removing this entire plastic piece, but I don't know if that's going to work, but we'll find out. So there's one of the bolts. That's going to be a tight fit. Yeah, we may have to remove this cover here also. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll just pull the coil pack up. Have to twist to the side to have some clearance here. Pull out the coil pack. Do that for each one of them. And there's three, and the fourth one is a little bit tight. You got to have these things perfectly lined up straight or they don't come out easy. Now they say it's supposed to be a 14 millimeter socket, and I do have a 14 millimeter socket, but I don't have the rubber piece on the inside on this one, so I'm going to use a 9/16. It's a little bit loose, but it should work all right. As long as these things aren't torqued real tight, it shouldn't be an issue, but we shall find out. Oh, they're not tight. little bit sticky, but they're not tight. All right, there's one. And after we loosen it, these are long threads. Very, very long threads. So just take your time, be patient with them. And yeah, they look pretty used. 140,000 miles, that's not that bad though, but the electrode is bent. So that might be part of the problem, but yeah, we'll go ahead and change these out. I've got new ones anyway. These are the OEM, they're Denzos. I don't know if it's going to make too big of a difference. I don't think it will on this. But I went ahead and got the Bosch. Got them from AutoZone. It's cheaper than going to the dealer. The dealer wanted $21 and change for each one of these plugs. I got the Bosch Iridiums from AutoZone for $11 each. The Bosch isn't a bad brand. It's not bad at all. I've used them on plenty of vehicles before. Some of the GM vehicles don't do very well with Bosch, but these foreign vehicles seem to do pretty well with Bosch. So we'll give them a shot. And worst case scenario, I can always, if they don't work very good, I can go to the dealer and get the Denzos. Yeah. That's two of them. Sorry guys, trash truck is here apparently. It's trash day for me. That's what all that noise is in the background, if you can hear it. These last two may be the hardest to get out, just because they say you should be getting the windshield wipers off in order to get easy access to this, but I'm not doing all that. It just seems kind of redundant to take off all that stuff just to get to the spark plugs, so I'm not going to do it. And you can get in these just fine. Just takes a little bit of finagling, but it's not horrible. This is one of the easier vehicles so far that I've ever had to do a tune-up on. Typically you're doing tune-ups and you got to take a bunch of stuff off in order to get to the spark plugs. And this being a small engine, 4-cylinder, 1.8 liter, I believe. It's only 4 spark plugs, and they're relatively easy to get to if you follow the directions from Toyota. They recommend you take this plastic cowl off. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I mean, these don't look completely horrible, but like I said, 140,000 miles. They recommend 100,000 miles, 70,000 miles to be ideal. Change out your spark plugs, but yeah, you can notice, you can see it on the side, there's a little bit of discoloration, but the spark plugs themselves are not horrible. You know, I've seen much worse. Definitely seen much worse than that. So they're not horrible. You know, not great by any means, but not horrible. So I know you're not supposed to gap these spark plugs. When you have iridium, you never want to gap them. But they always tell me they're pre-gapped. And every time I get them, I check the gap, and they're never gapped to what the car is supposed to have. So I always gap them myself. Now, these things are supposed to be at 35 thousandths. For this car, I did a lot of research on it. And the Bosch that I got were pre-gapped at 46 thousandths. I'm checking the gap on these ones now. I have two of them at 37 thousandths. This one I just checked was 43 thousandths. And this one is 41 thousandths. So yeah, I guess they're a little worn down. We're going to go ahead and see if we can start putting in the new spark plugs. You know, as you can see, these are iridiums also. These ones look perfectly straight. They look good. We'll see what happens. But here's the first one. And if I hadn't, I know I haven't said this, and I don't think I should have to, but if you're working on your own cars and this is your first time, be very careful when you're dropping these spark plugs in. You tap these things even a little bit, they can mess up the gap. So when you're putting them in, be very cautious. Drop them in with a very light touch. Work them into place and start threading them in. You never want to gap these things wrong. You never want to gap them too small, because then you will have problems with the car running bad. So just be cautious when you're putting these spark plugs in. Do not drop them in. Do not hit them in hard. Just real lightly work them into place. Because like I said, if you mess up this gap, your car will run horrible. Bad gas mileage, and you know, this is a Prius Prime, 2017 Prius Prime, like I said. So you want to try to get the best gas mileage possible, and it seems like the last few months, last 4 or 5 months, my car has steadily gone down in gas mileage. I was averaging about 72 to 74 miles per gallon. I've dropped down into the high 50s, 57 to 59. Sometimes I can do 61, which is still outrageously good gas mileage, but, you know, dropping 10 to 12 miles to the gallon, it makes a difference. I know my buddies always laugh at me because I tell them I've had a bad day and my gas mileage is down to 62, and they just laugh at me and give me a hard time because most of them are driving trucks, so they're in the range of 12 to 16 miles to the gallon. So when I'm complaining about only getting 62, almost seems like a slap in the face. But, you know, it's a Prius Prime. So when I'm used to getting in the 70s, sometimes 80s, dropping it down to the 60s is a bad day. But hopefully this will fix the problem. And I should have probably looked at the time to see how long this would take me to do this tune-up. But it's way less than an hour. So if I had to guess, I would say 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. to do 4 spark plugs. That's not bad at all. You just have to make sure you have the right tools available. You know, and I'll show you the tools I've used after I finish putting these coils back in and plugging them in, and I'll show you all the tools that I've used. There's not very many, you know, so even if you had to go and buy these tools on your own, it's still cheaper than taking it into a shop. The shops get ridiculous on their pricing now, and I mean, I guess they always have. These guys love their parts, they love their work, and they are not friendly about the prices. They just, in my opinion, they take advantage of everybody, and there's no reason for it if you can just go and buy the basic tools and do this on your own. This is not a hard job. The average person can do this, you know, even if it takes you an hour of your time. An hour versus taking it into a shop can easily save you $200 to $400, you know, because the shops are not nice about it, and they will take advantage. They'll tell you this is a 2 or 3 hour job, and they'll charge you $100 an hour shop prices, and they'll soak you for 3-4 hours easily, when, as you can see, this doesn't take long at all. This takes less than an hour. Granted, I am a little more experienced with working on cars, so this was pretty basic for me. You know, I've been working on cars since I was 12 years old, 11 years old with my dad, handing him wrenches. And I've worked on countless cars on my own since then. So this is a walk in the park for me, but even for someone who's not really familiar with working on cars, it's a very, very, very basic job. It is not difficult. It is not hard. It is not time consuming. This is one of the easiest jobs you'll ever have to do in your life. And if it saves you $100 to $400, it's very worth it. So tightening down the 10 millimeters, holding down the coils now. Don't over tighten these. You know, yes, there's metal in the middle, but there's still plastic around. You break that plastic, you could end up causing the coil to short out. And it may still run, but it may run rough. It may not run at all. But just don't over torque them. If you have a torque wrench, definitely look up the torque specs. I've been doing this long enough. I got a general idea of how tight to get these things without over tightening them. So pretty much the tools you're going to need. You're going to need a ratchet with a 10 millimeter. I don't know if you guys can see that. 10 millimeter ratchet. You'll need a 6-inch extension, and like I said, I used a 9/16 socket. Should have a 14, but I don't know if you can see it in there. There is a rubber piece that holds the spark plug so it doesn't fall out. Pretty much when you have a regular socket and you put something in it, it'll fall right out. But as you can see, you've got to give it a pretty good pull to get it out of there. Now this is a 9/16. Yes, it's a little bit loose, but it's not horrible. As you can see, I didn't mess up anything on there. It's worked just fine, and it holds it in perfect. So that's what you'll need there. You will also need either a screwdriver, or you have this special pair of pliers to take out these little clips. Like I said, I'm a little more experienced. I've been doing this type of work for many years, so I have these special tools, but they're not necessary. You can use a screwdriver and just pry it up from the sides, the centerpiece, and once you pull that out, you can pull out the bottom piece, the main piece of the clip, and it comes out fairly easy. And then once you pop it in, you just push this tab in and you're good. So there it is, all 4 spark plugs. We'll give it a start and see how it runs. Hopefully it runs better and my gas mileage comes back and we should be good to go. All right, now when you start this car, it starts in EV mode because it is a plug-in hybrid. But we'll go ahead and fire this thing up and we'll put it in hybrid mode so the engine starts. And it sounds amazing. Alright guys, there it is. Well, now you know how to do a spark plug change, a little tune-up on a 2017, I believe it's the same all the way to 2020 Prius Prime. On the 2019s and the 2021s, 2020, so 2019 to 2022, they did change it where they have this plastic piece that's already cut away. It's got a little clip, you gotta take this off, and this plastic piece will move out of the way so you can get to all these coils real easy. But on these 2017 to 2019, 2018s, you have to take off this whole piece and be able to rock this whole piece up. But either way, as you can see, it doesn't take long at all. Alright guys, have a great day. If you guys want any more videos, let me know. I'll be happy to make some.